Good morning, everybody. It's Alicia Nottaman. I am so excited to come to you today with this video. It's been on my heart and spirit to do this ever since I started writing my book about a month-ish ago, to share with you some of the lessons I've learned along the way for anybody else who wants to embark on the adventures of writing a book. So my book just went live last night. It's called Don't Be a Stranger, Creating Connections and Memorable First Impressions in Everyday Life. And it is all about basically just cultivating moments. It's about talking to people. It's about looking up from your phone and engaging with the amazing world around you. It's about, there's a wonderful quote that I just came across that says, in a world where you can be anything, be kind. It's about that, right? And whether you want to meet people just to get out of your shell, whether you want to create adventures where you go, whether you want romance, whether you want to be successful in sales, whatever it is you want, whether you want friendships, this is definitely a book where I've tried my best to kind of just outline the things that I do naturally in my life and tried to break it down and offer examples of how you can apply them in just new scenarios to start to create a new you, which not because the old you is bad, but because the new you could be so much more fantastic than you give yourself credit for. So I just wanted to do a video on some of the little pitfalls that I ran into along the way of publishing a book and what has been really helpful for me, because several of my friends have reached out asking, so how did you do it? How do you publish a book? What does it look like? What is the process? And so I'll do my best just to summarize and give you direction as to where to find some of these answers, because I'm not going to necessarily answer everything here because that would take hours, but I want you to know just kind of some of the areas that really helped me get through the project. So I basically set a super aggressive goal for myself because I wanted to get it done, and I've played with the idea of writing a book for years, just really because I wanted to honor my father's memory. This was something that was a dream of his for me, and it always sat in the back of my head, and it kind of like tugged at me, you know, like, hey, you still haven't done this, and love your daddy. And so daddy, this one's absolutely for you. And you know, you can find the book on Amazon now. It's just so exciting. It's real. Okay, so tips and tricks I learned along the way. First of all, it is so much more helpful, I bet you, if you use one of the MS Word or Word templates that Amazon provides, or whatever publishing platform you're working with provides. I'm gonna only speak to Amazon because that's what I did. And I'll tell you, there are countless videos out there comparing Amazon to other publishers. One of the biggest publishing competitors, I think, is not Instagram. InstaSpark, I think that's what it's called. Nope, that's still not right. It'll come to me. But anyway, it kind of sounds like that. And they actually recommend starting on Amazon because it's a lot more user-friendly, and then actually transitioning over to the other one and doing your ebook there and doing more of an expanded reach there because they do a better job of marketing. And they actually sell to bookstores more likely versus Amazon most likely, because it's a competitor of bookstores. You're probably not going to see your book sold from Amazon to bookstores, but you know, there's always exceptions to everything we put out there. So I got distracted because I thought of it, but then I just lost it again. It's a weird name because I keep wanting to say Instagram, but it's not Instagram. Okay, so Word template. So I basically just started writing, and I went in after the fact to put in formatting. Well, probably not the smartest way to do it, because then the formatting part of it, you're kind of going backwards, right? So apparently I learned at the very last stage that there are templates through Amazon. So Amazon's publishing platform is called KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing. And so you would actually go through all that, and this all makes sense as you kind of go through the steps. But with KDP, they offer these templates, and so I didn't use one, but I probably could have and should have. So, because what ended up happening to me is at the very, very end, I'm ready to finally post my product on Amazon, and Amazon keeps bouncing it back saying something needs to be corrected as far as internal formatting. Well, I'm not technical enough to understand what that means, right? So at that point, I end up hiring someone for, oh my gosh, $15 on this website called Fiverr. Fiverr is amazing, Fiverr. You basically hop on there and there's contractors who say, I will do this for you for this price, and you just pick one. And I paid expedite, actually I paid $20 because I paid the extra $5 for expediting. Yeah, I sure went out for that one. And within 24 hours, he got me back a formatted version that worked. And so I could not have figured out what he did. I know he said some of my photos fell outside of what's called the bleed line, which has to do with how the book is cut, trimmed, printed, and how text might kind of fall off or get cut off. And so He just kind of corrected what needed to be corrected, sent it back, and saved me a huge headache. So I definitely recommend Fiverr. And quite probably, it's one of those things that you can even find like editors and things like that. It's a very low cost option to keep your costs down, but still have another set of eyes from people that do this probably day in and day out. Okay, InstaSpark, is that what it's called? It's gonna drive me nuts. It's gonna drive me nuts. Okay, so YouTube was my best friend through this process. Every time I had a question, I went to YouTube and did how to. So two of my favorite speakers in the self-publishing arena now are this really hilarious girl named Jenna. I don't know her last name, but I bet you if you do Jenna self-publishing, she's the first thing that pops up. She is a firecracker. She's so funny, super relatable, and it's just really entertaining watching her videos, but she's super informative and no BS. So Jenna's great. I learned so much from her. And then this guy, Dale, I think he goes by #selfpub, but Dale, short, bald guy, I think sometimes wears hats, like really, really very informative, very well educated about the process, does a great job. Both of them do a great job of comparing Amazon KDP to other platforms. It is InstaSpark, pretty sure that's right. Okay, so definitely watch the YouTube videos. There's some fantastic YouTube videos, in fact, on how to make cover images in Canva. So the whole cover image was a whole different thing on its own, which, by the way, a cover image is going to be different for a print on demand book, which is what I did. Basically it goes on Amazon, and when people order it, prints and ships, versus an ebook. I love the feel of a book, right? So that's why I wanted to go that route to start, and then I can always expand it later if I want to. But there's going to be different formatting for each. So it's not like you create a book and you're done and you send it out to all of them. It has to be reformatted for everything. So good news is next time I would just use somebody off Fiverr and be like, hey, could you take care of this? Thanks, here's 30 bucks, right? It really makes life a lot more simple, but I'm grateful that I did it all myself as best as I could till I couldn't in this whole process, because I've learned so much that I can share. Okay, so what are some other things? Oh, Canva. I would recommend doing if you use Canva or whatever you use, I would recommend doing your book cover last. I played around with it in the midst of doing my book because it just kind of like changed mind shifts if I got bored or distracted. But the problem is my dimensions have to be set before I start the project. And the dimensions that I pulled offline off of a YouTube video were for a 100-page book. Well, then it didn't occur to me, what if my book's not 100 pages? So my book ends up being 120 pages. So what ends up happening at the very end is I go to upload it to Amazon, and Amazon kicks back an error. This is, by the way, why I've had some delays. The error is saying your dimensions are slightly off, and it was off by like point something of a decimal. And I'm like, what is it? And it took me a while to figure out, oh, it's because I did a standard. And the way I figured it out was by Googling again how to do book covers, and that same video popped up with the dimensions. And that time I heard him say, this is for a 100-page book. And then it clicked. Oh, okay, got it. So thankfully, my friend was able to help me adjust it, but that even was not easy. And I think he had a special program on his computer that he was able to do it on. Otherwise, I would have just gone back to my Fiverr guy and said, hey guy, could you fix this for me? Thank you. Okay, photos, if you have photos in your book. So I actually had a couple photos in my book, probably 5 or 6. Because this book really was a work of passion for my father. It really was to honor his memory. And so in some of the chapters, like Eye Contact or Smile, I think Smile, the Power Color chapter, or it's actually Bring the Power, but in that chapter I talk about colors and the use of bright colors that stand out, like reds. In that chapter, in some of these chapters, I have photos that are beautiful, vivid colors. Well, when I went to print, it said that the cost, and I wanted to make my book $9.99. I wanted to make it cheap, easy to get for anybody who wants to get it. It wasn't about profit for me. It was just about like getting it out there and having it in people's hands in hopes of helping people feel more confident in their own skin. So when I go to publish it, I wanted color because I wanted the photos to come out in color. Well, the price of the book, they tell me, has to be a minimum of 15 something. And I'm like, what? How is that even possible? It's a tiny little book. And it hadn't clicked yet. It was because I selected color. So if you select color, you're not just paying to print 5 pages in color if you have 5 photos, right? You're paying for the whole book, like the whole ink in the printing process is different. So yeah, so you can imagine. So $15.49, and I was like, well, if I make the book 16 bucks, my profit would have been like 34 cents a book, which is just kind of ridiculous. So not only am I now charging more than I want, but the return is just kind of like laughable. So then it clicked a few hours later. I went back, I changed it to black and white, and hallelujah, the price of the book dropped significantly. The profit increases a little bit. I mean, certainly more than $3 or 30 some cents. It's like maybe $3 a book, which is totally great. Like, that's wonderful. $3 fell out of the sky. I'll take it. It's like almost a Starbucks, right? And so either way, the point being that black and white to color option really does make a drastic difference. Okay, a couple things to think about in the formatting of Word is you got to get comfortable with inserting line breaks, page breaks, continuous breaks. The header footer process can be a little wieldy. The table of contents was the hardest part, honestly. It was the hardest part, figuring out how to get headings to automatically update and show up in a table of contents. Once I figured it out, it made sense. But that thing took me days to figure out, and I had to go find YouTube videos and follow them really closely. And so again, YouTube is your best friend in this process. When you're in Canva, if that's where you decide to do your book cover, which I recommend, it was really easy and really great and fun to play around in. You basically want to remember that you can incorporate different shapes that overlay over other shapes, and then there's functions to move things up and back to help get the dimensions and the visuals that you want. That took me a while to figure out too, so hopefully that saves some people some time. As far as editing, here was another thing I ran into. So I had several friends that just love and adore me, reading the book for me and editing and giving me feedback and telling me what they liked and telling me, you know, typos and correcting wording and things like that. Well, here's the stumbling block I kept running into is, like, I tell you, one of my friends was like, this is fantastic. This is great. Like, I love this. I had another friend saying, like, I'm going to use this, you know, or I used this last night. Your techniques actually work. I'm like, that's awesome. And then those little horrible voices sink in as you get closer to being done, right? So if you've never done something like this, that's what happened to me anyway, and I'm assuming it's pretty normal. As you get closer to thinking you're done, all the fears, the doubts, the insecurities, oh gosh, what if it's actually awful? What if I submit it and I'm a laughingstock of the world? I mean, I've gone so far with my delusions, it is laughable. The things I've come up with have become jokes with some of my friends. But because my friends love me so much, the thought then crept into my head of, what if it's actually awful and they love me so much that they just love everything I do? What if it's really not good? What if there's tons of like errors and typos? What if it's really boring? And people are gonna be like, this girl's a doctor? What? She's so dumb. She's so this. I mean, these are the ugly thoughts that just kind of start attacking you as you get closer to thinking you're done. You're like, you know what? I'm gonna read it one more time. You know what? I'm just gonna double check again. And you go back and forth and you obsess because you're so afraid you forgot something. Plus your brain is filled with endless information. So there's always gonna be something you forgot or you could have added. There's always going to probably be a typo or a rewording that would have been better. And so each time I read it, I'm sure I'm still going to remember and kind of brutalize myself with stuff like that. The good news is with Amazon KDP, you can actually go in and you can make edits and then republish your document, which is the other cool thing about print on demand, because you're not buying a bunch of books in bulk and then that's it. So to anybody who's in my first round of buying, I'm grateful to you, and I hope that you don't catch typos, and I hope that it does flow well, and I hope you really love it, whether or not you love me, which I hope you do. And so if you find stuff, please feel free to reach out to me and let me know, because I would love to correct anything if you do find it. Okay, and then we're almost done. Already mentioned that piece. Okay, so the final submission process, when you log on to Amazon, you scroll down, you're logged in, you scroll down, and there's an option that says something like become a published author with us or something. And then you follow the prompts. You've got to create an account with create space. That's what it's called. So it walks you through this. You create an account with Create Space, and then it redirects you to the Create Space platform where you start the process. And you just click, do you want an ebook, a print on demand, or an audiobook? And then you follow along. You enter your title, you enter your subtitle. You got to pick you get to pick two options of what you want your network to be and what kind of a book it is. So I selected self-help for verbal and nonverbal communication, as well as relationship skills and communication skills. So the submission could take 5 minutes if everything is formatted correctly and ready to go, or it could take days. Because in my case, remember, I had to reach out and find that guy to figure out what was going on with the formatting, and then my cover, I needed to get the custom dimensions correct, and all that stuff delayed me another couple of days. So, so just kind of prepare for yourself that if you have a set deadline in mind, it might be delayed by some of that stuff. Now, the cool thing about Amazon is once you do upload your products, you upload your document separately, you upload your cover separately, you include all the other stuff, you include a bio about the book, and then you actually can preview it, which is so cool to see. So they give you a gorgeous, like, you know, previewing from page 1 to 120 or however many pages your book is, and you can check and make sure pages aren't cut off, photos aren't cut off, lines don't seem cut off. Now the text is so small, it's kind of hard to see, so that's where you start to get a little nervous, like, ooh, did lines get cut off and I just didn't notice? I don't think so. Make sure your page numbers fit. By the way, page numbers are another tricky part because there's like those first pages, I think they call them front matter. So like your table of contents, your forward, your dedications, although I put my acknowledgements at the end just because it got long, because I love to tell people how grateful I am for them. It's one of my favorite things in the world, which by the way, there's a chapter on complimenting. But you've got to get all those page numbers situated correctly. The best advice is just YouTube it. It is so confusing. And it involves all those page breaks. And so the page breaks are essential because basically they say, hey, formatting starts over here. And so whatever you had in this section, you want to unlink it to the previous sections and then proceed with your document. All that will make sense when you watch it in a video. Okay, last bits of advice. You don't have to do these things, but I would recommend them based on all the videos I saw and the advice that I got, is definitely copyright your book, copyright your product, just to make sure, better safe than sorry. To copyright, when you're going through the process, Amazon will ask you, is your book already copyrighted? Or do you want us to do it? And so I said, you know, it's copyrighted, and I used the links and I went over to the copyright website and I actually submitted to Library of Congress just to be protected. Once you do that, you upload a PDF of your document and then they go through their review process and then they have it in their records and it's protected there. And so why not for $35? Now I will tell you, I selected the wrong option. So I ended up having to pay $55. And I called the next day to find out what did I even do wrong, because I spent like an hour and a half trying to figure this out, and I was like, forget it, I'll just pay the extra 20 bucks. I don't know what's missing. And what was missing was at the very beginning of the copyright process, there's an option for single work, single author, single something under the other copyright options, whereas I had just selected standard and proceeded and said it was a one work by one author, etc., etc. But I had to have selected that original option, and because I didn't, I couldn't figure out what was wrong. And so it's fine, $20 lesson worth learning. And then finally, the ISBN. The ISBN is kind of like the social security number for your book. So you don't have to have one, but I'll tell you, I was selling books for a while on Craigslist, just trying to get cleanse things out of the house. And the people kept messaging me and saying, are your books, do they have ISBNs? And I was like, why does this matter? Well, apparently it does. And I think it has to do with selling in bookstores, but I'm not entirely sure. I just know it's very important, it seems, and a whole bunch of people talk about getting one, and so just get one. Amazon, I believe, can provide one for you, but I went ahead and did one on my own because all the advice that I was watching seemed to suggest that was the better way to go. So there is a website. If you Google it, it'll take you to where ISBNs are standardly done. I believe the company is called Bowker, B-O-W-K-E-R, Bowker. $125. So that was the most expensive part of the process. Honestly, everything else was free. So bought my ISBN number. Once you get the email that it's purchased, then you click on the link, it takes you to another website, and then you put in the title and subtitle and author of your book. And so it connects them, it attaches them, and then, yeah, that's it. And you'll use that in your publishing on Amazon or whatever other platform you use. So I hope this is helpful. I realize it's gonna sound like a foreign language if you've not ever published before, or if you're just kind of considering all this. But I tell you, that's probably the crux of everything I learned in one place. And I just cannot stress enough how valuable it was to go and watch those YouTube videos. But definitely start with Dale and Jenna. I tell you, at least with Jenna, you're gonna laugh. And I hope you're not easily offended, because she wouldn't care about that. She's just hilarious and so fun. Ooh, one last thing I did want to say is on Amazon, there is an option for expanded distribution. I did not select it because among the videos I was watching, there's better ways to expand your distribution that could actually have it land in bookstores. So I might look at that later on down the line using Instaspark. I still feel like I'm saying it wrong. I'm sorry, Instaspark people, I apologize. But again, once you start going through all this process, you'll be like, oh, that's what she was trying to remember. Okay, guys, maybe I'll do a cleaner version of this video one day, but for now, this is good enough. And that's what I had to decide when I was finally ready to submit the book, you know? for now, it's good enough. I've caught about as much as I think I'm gonna catch. Everything else can continue to be refined. It's never gonna be perfect. And I just hope it's good enough to help someone. Because if so, my mission was accomplished. And quite frankly, it's already accomplished because I got to honor my daddy's dream. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for joining me. And I sure hope this helps somebody perhaps in their lives publish down the line. Bye, guys.